Now, I request Dr. Basavaraju R. Shreshta, Executive Director, Grassroots Research and Advocacy Movement, to share his thoughts on the importance of effective policy formulation to transform education in the grassroots level. Let's hear his view.
Uh, Good morning, all. At the outset, it's my honor and privilege to be sharing my thoughts in this wonderful conclave amidst this august gathering and distinguished speakers, actually. It's my honor to share the dais with Madam Dr. Anju Sharma, a Secretary Skill Development from Gujarat government, and also all the respective consulates of Netherlands, Dutch, and Cambodia, and my dear friend from Skill Development Department, Mr. Satish, and all other dignitaries. Uh, there is something small is beautiful. There is something they say, and this is a very although this gathering is small, I'm sure this is a very attentive and excellent audience to interact with. While you are hooked onto your screens, I would request you to lend your ears. Let's take go through some of the grassroots challenges of education currently we are facing in India. Education, education, education alone. Traveling through many cities of Europe and observing in them the comforts and education of even the poor people, there was brought to my mind the state of our own poor people. And I used to shed tears. What made the difference? Education was the answer I got. Through education comes faith in one's own self, and through faith on one's own self, the inherent Brahman is waking up in them. This is what Swami Vivekananda said once he returned from his famous Chicago and Europe trip. And when the journalist encountered them, Swamiji, what is the difference you see between the world, Western world, and India? He said this: education is the only difference. If education is given to our people, rest of it will happen as it happens in the chemistry laboratory. If you mix two compounds, automatically the third result will emerge. If you give education, development automatically happens. To probably testify how Swamiji's thoughts, even relevant, are very important today, let me take you through the grassroots story and narrate your story. Hypothetically, I'm naming this girl as Lata. Lata is from a higher secondary school of one of the villages of Mysuru, where we implement a program called Sugamya Shiksha, that is facilitate education to strengthen school education, public education system in the schools of Karnataka. One of the event we conduct is Children Parliament. And incidentally, in that children's parliament, Lata was the speaker. Speaker means the chair of the assembly. And she conducted that entire assembly so beautifully without the intervention of any organizers or any teachers. And finally, she stopped, and while giving a speaker's remarks, she said very daringly and directly to all the officers, because in that the assembly of children, the district judge was present, the district collector was present, district the superintendent of police, and all the district level officers were made to come because it was happening in collaboration with the judiciary. So she said directly, can I ask you a question? Have you visited a government school in the past 6 months? If not, as speaker, although she is not actually a speaker of Lok Sabha Legislative Assembly, she used that seat of power to say, please come visit one government school and you will understand what should be done. That's the power of education, what it can bring to a girl. But that story not ended there actually. Her father was infamous for his habits, and two of her elder sisters were married at the age of 16, and Lata was in her next queue. But fortunately, this news appeared in the newspapers, and father saw the news, and somehow he said to his wife and other friends, I think my third daughter is different. Let me help her continuing this education. I'm not going to get her married in the next 1 year. Let her continue. Let her do whatever she want to do. That's the power of true education. I can go on narrating this story, but what is education is something very important that we all need to think as policymakers, as industry leaders. It is important. Why it is important? Still 71% of kids study in public education system, and COVID actually uncovered or explained why it is more. In fact, if many people say health was the most affected sector when the COVID affected, I would say it is education and child rights got more affected in India. And the recent survey reports of ASER study reports will testify that, will give an evidence why it is so. In fact, it says children in the class 5th cannot read the class 2 text. At least they say it was 44.4% in 2018. It worsened to 38% in 2022. That is what pandemic has done to the sector. And to correlate that, our own study in Karnataka, when we did the study during the COVID, we could find only 15% of children were engaged in learning activities in any form. It could be through online education, it could be through reading, it could be to television lessons. That was the challenge actually. And look at the grassroots. What are the major challenges we have for the education sector? I would call it as PDE. In Karnataka, PDE is also a problem. So what is perception about public education system. I think as policymakers, it is important to build a good perception about the public education system. Esteem of teacher is something, it's very concerning, which we all need to work, because teacher is the center of the public education system. Unless teachers are not self-esteemed, the things cannot be changed. Quality of education is the foremost important thing, and deterioration of morality should be addressed, and engagement of community is more and more required. As more corporates are also focusing on developing public schooling system, uh, we need to look at the corporate policies also. So we need to nudge corporates from spending more on from spending on capital to investing on human and social capital. So it's not capital expenditure will transform the education system. That means building huge buildings, because I've witnessed some of the corporates going and building schools, building worth of 6 crores, while you can actually transform, if you don't worry about the buildings, if you worry about human and social capital, you can transform not less than 60 schools with the same money. So with small human capital focused interventions. Preferred geography to proper geography. So many corporates are investing in and around their establishment. Mostly it will be in the city area and mostly economically developed area, whereas the need is there somewhere. So we need to take corporates through the policies to those areas by having the portfolios. Like certain portfolios should be given to aspirational districts, certain portfolios should be given to some of the backward districts. And more importantly, so corporates are required to invest on novel models over proven models. There's a lot of difference, because if you look at what is the total spending of the CSR in the last 1 year. The last 1 year, if you compare it against the union government budget, it was 0.6. If you put together all the state government and union government budget, it was just 0.28. That's what maximum we are spending from the corporate social responsibility side. I'm not saying this investment is less, but this investment is crucial. This investment is important, because we seldom invest on innovation, we seldom invest on experimentation. That's the courage corporate can take, because problems are changing. The 21st century problems are changing, the skills are required, the various other activities are required. It is important to nudge our corporates investment towards these models, building the models. Coming to some of the policy measures to transform the grassroots education system, to my little experience, what I've come across is it is important to converge of all the investment. When I mean investment, not only money, it is also intellectual investment, other resources, to derive a knowledge impact. Right now, in at least if I take our own states, Karnataka, we don't have clear definition. Okay, put together all the efforts by all the CSRs and all the government institution, all the NGOs, because many players are there in the sector. But what is the knowledge impact we want to derive down the line? That's something we are not very sure about that. NEP, as Madam was also saying, an excellent opportunity, but it calls for the participation of the stakeholders beyond investment. So, for example, again, I take the 21st century skills requirements. Like it is not, no, it's also a knowledge and skills that is required from the corporate sectors to be invested in education sector. It's not just the money. There is intellectual capital is also required, because out there lot of skills available. So, and school complexes are the new things. Neighborhood schools kind of an evading concept with the improved infrastructure and accessibility, and also decreasing fertility rates in the states like Karnataka. We need to focus more on creating school complexes and recognition and reward to the teachers. There are no less recognition and reward system available. So we need to focus our policies around positive deviance model. And skilling is something important, but we are clueless how to take it to the 75,000 schools in Karnataka. It's easy to say, but difficult to implement. We probably need to come out with more and more youth engagement programs, young professionals to take all the skill programs to the school development in Karnataka, or for that matter, any other state. And community is the key. I tell you, if today the 75,000 schools are there in Karnataka, it's not just because of government's efforts. It is various community donors, organizations who simply let go their land, let go their buildings for the sake of education. That is the reason government could reach so much of schools to all the villages. But we are somehow forgetting it, not focusing more on community participation. It has only become an enforced participation. It should become an empowered participation. The school and management committees, SDMCs, should be more and more encouraged to take part and develop the school. And more importantly, we have education districts. Many of you might not be knowing about this. Other than revenue district, we have education district. In fact, education districts are more in Karnataka compared to the revenue district. Why? Because government thought we should thrust upon, give more impetus to develop quality education. More decentralization is required. I think more autonomy is also required for the education districts to do quality education and also compete to each other. It's nothing bad in competing to each other. Each education district should have a proper metric to ensure quality of education. And finally, I believe, and I come from the school of thought, that is democratization and communitization of the development is key to ensure quality service delivery of public good. Education is not an exception to it. And finally, I would like to use this platform for the national interest. As you all know, we are in the G20 year. India is the presidency, and fortunately, I have the good fortune of coordinating one of the group nationally on delivering democracy. And I see a lot of opportunity and synergy with all the dignitaries present here, especially the consulates, honorable consulates, because we are expecting guests from all the G20 countries, and it's an opportunity to discuss, deliberate, and how we all can go together for the better world. And I shall be in touch with you, all of you. Thank you so much.
Thanks. When you speak about the problems of grassroots level, those should be pragmatic. And Dr. Basavaraju R. Shrestha has highlighted some important points of the grassroots level problem when it comes to transforming education. One of the takeaway from me has been that when you said that it's not important to invest 60 crore to build a school building, rather invest 60 crore to build 60 school buildings and invest in people rather than only mere infrastructure. That is has been a very important point raised by you. Thank you so much.